Call this meeting to order of the Brawley City Council and successor agency to Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency in our regular meeting of July the 5th at 6 p.m. And roll call.
Councilmember Hamby.
Present.
Councilmember Wharton.
Here.
Councilmember Castro.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nava.
Here.
Mayor Couchman.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll have the invocation by Chaplain John Mark Sharp. Please rise.
As I was sitting here waiting, I was reminded of 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 and 2, where Paul told young Timothy that we should pray for everybody, but especially for our leaders, so that we can live quiet and peaceful lives. So let's go ahead and pray that the decisions made here today will lead to quiet and peaceful lives for the citizens of Brawley. Father, thank you so much for this day and this opportunity that we have, just having celebrated Independence Day, that we have the freedom to gather together and make choices as a civil body politic to lead our community, Lord. And we just thank you for that privilege that you've bestowed upon us. And I just ask that you would give us wisdom and guidance and courage to do what is right, to do what is good, and to do the things that need to be done, to make the decisions that will lead to the prosperity of this community, that will lead to quiet and peaceful lives for everybody here, that people may want to come here and live here and be drawn to this place and see its beauty of its citizens and its city and its leaders. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. Bless us and keep us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. George?
Please join me in the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, so then we'll go to item number 1, which is approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, please, before we do, I have one correction that I'd like
Okay.
to correct. On agenda item 7A, departmental reports, it should reflect Sylvia Luna, finance manager, not finance director. I did not hire another one, Carla, so.
I thought we had 2.
Yeah. So whoever prepared the agenda didn't do a good job. So.
That's
Right. Is that you again?
minor stuff,
All right.
minor stuff. Okay. so
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the correction on item 7.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, and I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, got it, everybody. Okay, so now we'll go to item number 2, which is public appearances and comments, not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Do we have any comments from the audience that are not on the agenda?
Yes.
Come forward.
Hello, City Council. My name is Rusty Garcia, 417 Allen, here in Brawley. And I'm here to talk about the tennis courts at Missouri Park. And we have talked and met with Billy Brewer, who is athletic director. We've met with Rachel Fonseca, who's the director of Parks and Rec. And we also have the tennis coach, the Brawley High School tennis coach here. So he's going to give a little overview as far as what kind of floor we need, what kind of cement as compared to asphalt and so on, because I don't have an idea about that. And Billy Brewer, he's our athletic director at the high school, and he also, has ideas because, of course, we have the tennis courts at the high school. So, we want to get this done. My role in this is that we had, with volunteers, we had the softball parks, as a softball park. Before it was just all grass and so on and so forth, but with a whole bunch of volunteers, not only physical, but monetary, that it got done. Same thing with the
Volunteer park or other?
no, same thing
The
with
restrooms?
restrooms, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
That was with volunteers also. You know, that was volunteers. In fact, Mr. Castro was one of the ramrods that when he was with that company, you know, they ramrodded and they got it done. So things can get done, and now we're asking City Council, the City of Brawley, to help with this, to make that park look good. You know, because like I said, we have the parks, you know, but we need that tennis court. I don't play tennis anymore, but, yeah, I know.
Me neither.
But anyway, here's
you.
Good evening to all of you. I have a messed up voice from a fireworks stand all week, but appreciate you letting us step up. My coach, Marcelo Rodriguez, here is both the male and female tennis coach here at Brawley High School. Live at 656 West Worthington and Imperial. Don't hold that against me. But anyways, I appreciate just a couple words. We're here, the high school's here to help whatever we can do. We've always worked with the city manager, Tyler, and every one of you board members have always been great to the high school. And so, your council members, so I don't want to stay up here a long time. I know you got stuff going on. I just want you to know that we're here to help. Whatever we can do, whatever we can purchase, whatever we can buy in to get Meserve Park going. And that's really the bottom line. I don't want to take any more time, but I want to say one thing if I can. We've been doing a firework stand, and the police department and the fire chief, the police chief, you guys have been awesome. They've been around the town, all over the place. They've had their hands full, obviously, the last week and especially last night. And I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
First time, sorry. Marcelo Rodriguez. I live in 167 I Street here in Brawley. And I just want to touch a little bit more on, since this is all hopefully goes through and whatnot, I want to talk a little bit about the community out there, right? Because I started playing soccer when I was very young, and I stumbled into tennis when I joined high school. I started as a freshman. Played a lot, basically became my whole life. I ended up going to IVC for 2 years, played there. I didn't really take school seriously up until the end of IVC, but it was because of tennis. One counselor there suggested, hey, you should probably transfer out to try to go play. I was like, oh yeah. I transferred to Colorado State University at Pueblo, where I played at Division II. Finished all that, got my degree, came back here, now I'm a PE teacher here at Barbara Worth. And all that, I really do think it was because of tennis. It allowed me to continue all that. And with Meserve, I mean, I remember playing there outside of my practice. I played with Billy over here at the high school. And I remember going to Meserve Park at night and playing against that wall and taking my friends over and playing. I remember more people coming through and whatnot. So it was a nice memory for me, right? And now seeing those courts all beat up, it's kind of like, man, and coming back from the community. But the one thing I do want to add is right now I'm running a tennis camp, a summer camp at the high school. And I have about 50 to 60 kids out there between middle school and high school. And I have a few alumni as well playing. So there are people out there still wanting to play and still having to play. But I'm out there so that they can play. Because if I don't go out to the high school, they can't play. So there is a big number of players out there. I also haven't touched, or I haven't requested or called players under 12 years old. I haven't done a kids program or anything like that. And I've done that in the past through the city, and I get a good 20 students as well. So there's people out there who want to play tennis, right? So, and if everything goes well, I mean, I'd love to be part of that, get people playing out there. I'll give lessons out there. I'll help people out. And that's just a little bit I can do to try to help this movement.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
I have some comments to share.
Okay.
I did invite them over today just to make sure that they shared their comments, but I do want to credit Councilmember Wharton. Just a few months back, he'd asked for some information on the courts, and I do believe that Rachel Fonseca, our Parks and Recreation Manager, has provided some information with respect to cost and things of that nature. So my suggestion was let's have a conversation just to see where this can lead. I know City Council, we've worked on this for quite some time, is trying to revamp those courts, and they're in they're not in disrepair because they can be repaired, but really they're in really bad shape. And so just, based on time, age, and the sun, but I'm hopeful that maybe we can work on something, Mr. Mayor. So I do want to make sure that I credit Councilmember Wharton for at least striking that conversation up early on. So I don't know if he's out there and he can maybe comment on that.
I just was going to admit, I'm an old tennis player, used to be, and I have spent quite a bit of time on those courts back when they were operational. So just thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for actually getting some key stakeholders there, our friends, to step up and, lend their support. So Billy, Rusty, Coach, all you guys, definitely, it's going to take kind of a group effort. But no, happy to see this on the radar, and we will work closely with Rachel. And then, as we all know, it's about money. But I think we can put our heads together, we can figure it out.
Okay, okay. Anyone else?
It's a good first start. We appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
I do know that I've spoken to numerous people over the last few years regarding those tennis courts. Several tennis groups came forward, said at one time they were going to raise money for that effort. Well, I have not really heard a whole lot from them, since that time. I know that some people think fondly of those courts. I used to play on those courts when I was younger, a lot younger. And so I'm fond of that park. I used to play at that park as a child. And so I grew up in that neighborhood. And so I certainly feel the need. I certainly feel like we probably need some type of fundraising effort, maybe some grant, go after a few grants there or something, maybe some help from the high school, maybe even help from the elementary school in terms of getting those courts back into place. The problem, I think, has been, at least lately, has been budget and the amount and the cost to put those back into shape. And it's not minor, I don't think, at this point in time.
It's fiscal, and there are some estimates, and depending on the type of product that's laid out there, Mr. Mayor, but, maybe in the same fashion that we've partnered with the high school and the junior high to use the pool facilities, that can be a model that we can use to help fund that. So
Correct.
It's just, food for thought, but I think honestly having the initial conversation is very important. So
Absolutely. Okay. So thank you guys for coming and presenting that for
Thank
us. Yeah.
Can I make one little last comment? Just one.
Go ahead.
You don't
Did
need to-
You're just going to do this a little bit.
I know. As Mayor Couchman mentioned a couple of years ago, kind of started getting the word out, and pretty much I think the same people that are talking about
Problem.
getting some monies.
Yes.
And that kind of fizzled. But, I think that with, that we can go out and get those people that were talking, and, that's what I think I can do, or, at least, I don't mind making phone calls, making presentations, and trying to, get that money, or at least some of the monies, so we can do it. We can do it right, and have a good facility there.
And I think you can see from our input that we're in favor of that we would
Thank
like
you.
to see that happen. We just don't know how we're going to arrive at that, but I think with your help and with the help of all the other individuals in this audience and out there in the community, I think we can get that done.
And that makes a big difference, because some of the people said, they don't care anyway.
yeah.
That's what, it's what they come out, they don't care anyway, they don't want to help anyway. There are all kinds of excuses, but, I'm glad that, Mr. Navas, we met at the park, and
And it was only 400 degrees that day.
Yeah, and that's in the shade.
Was that in the evening?
No, that was in the shade. It was
It was
400
in the
degrees.
shade.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any
But
shade?
I'm glad to hear, that you guys are, in favor of, let's try to get it done,
Let's do it.
because, we'll
I
get it.
haven't played tennis in a while, but I'd like to.
Hey, you know
so-
what? I was on the tennis team at IBC.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
True story.
All right. We believe you.
Okay.
It's on record now.
All right, all right. Don't laugh. Okay,
thank you.
Rusty,
Thank
thank you. Okay, anybody else that's not on the agenda for public presentations? If not, then we'll go into the ones that are on the agenda. Public presentation, item D, is introduction of our newest employee and member of the Brawley family, Scout, the K-9 officer, presented by Jimmy Duran, Chief of Police.
Look at that.
There he
Well,
is.
there he is. Good evening, members of the council, city staff, and public. It is my privilege and honor to present our new K-9 unit. That's made of Canine Scout and Officer Araujo. And as you know, it's been about a year since we said we were going to do it. We were going to find funding, we're going to find the training, and it took us a little bit, but we got it done. And I just want to mention that they came out first in their class, so up in Riverside in that training. So I think that, it's a round of applause for that, first in their class.
Great, that's great.
It made us look so good up there with their peers up in Riverside that we are very proud. This guy is ready to go, as you can see.
Yes.
So it's going to be, come on, Scout.
Oh, look at it.
There you go. As you know, it was a much needed addition to our police department. As you know, we are a corridor for drug smuggling here between the Mexican border and LA. And there's quite a significant amount of street level narcotics as well. And we've been very successful with deterring some of that, but I believe with the assistance of Officer Araujo and Canine Scout, we're definitely going to be more successful. So Officer Araujo, do you have any words for the council?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, City of Brawley. Nice to
All
meet
right,
you guys.
there you go.
Me and Scout just want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to try out this program. We won't let you down, do our best. And he's dual purpose for narcotics, us, and for you guys.
Appreciate
As you
it.
can see, his temperament is friendly, so we hope to be invited to some of the gatherings, the community events, all that stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm sure he'll be at Catacomb.
Yeah, right. But
They're going to be busy.
we're going to hit the ground running, and glad to be a part of this team.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Very neat.
And
All right,
congratulations
thank
to you
you.
as well.
Yes.
We'll put a saddle on him for cattle.
There you go.
Put a saddle on. He's already almost got a saddle right now. Yeah, there he goes.
That was nice.
I guess Scout didn't want to say a few words.
Well, he had his mouth full. So,
Got it. Nice dog.
good job, Mr. Rose.
Okay, all right. Then we'll go to item 2E, which is presentation of proclamation in honor of Adeline Baez, presented by Tyler Salcido, city manager, and the mayor. Go, Tyler.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Ron Baez to introduce his mother. Is Ron in the audience? Come on up. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Council and City Manager. It's my honor to honor my mom. She's going to be 85 years old this Saturday, and she is very active in the community. She was involved as a teacher's aide at Oakley Elementary School, and retired several years ago, but has remained extremely active in Senior Citizen Club. And we recently did a book drive with the public library and donated over 85 books for the summer reading program. And I'd like to sort of commend my mom for being excellent as a role model, a great mother, and community advocate.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll read the proclamation in your honor. Would you like to say a few words first?
Well, I'm very pleased to be here. And I am very involved with the city, and especially the children. I was a den mother for Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and then the cookie drive
Right.
and the senior citizens. And like my son said about the book drive, we went to the library. We asked for books and we got them and presented them to the library. And I have asked the school, the district, to go and read to the children in the classrooms. And I'm still involved in many other things.
Fantastic. Very good, very good. I'll read the proclamation then. Proclamation in honor of Adeline Baez. Whereas Adeline Cecilia Baez was born on July the 9th, 1937 in Brawley, California, to Tomas and Carmela Funes, attended Miguel Hidalgo School, Barbara Worth Junior High, and graduated from Brawley Union High School in 1955. And whereas she was married to Ruben Baez and they had 6 children, and she would volunteer as den mother for the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, would help her children with their homework, and was treasurer of the Oakley PTA. And whereas she is a 1981 graduate of Imperial Valley College with a degree in education, and worked as a teacher's aide at Oakley Elementary School for 31 and a half years, and whereas upon her retirement, she worked part-time with Kalen Farms and continued her avid volunteer involvement with numerous civic, religious, and community organizations, including Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church, Sacred Heart Church, and various senior citizens groups such as Brawley Get Together Club and the Imperial Valley Senior Club, organizing food and clothing drives for homeless individuals, scholarship fundraisers for Cesar Chavez Commemorative Committee, and book drives for Rady's Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald House, schools, and the libraries. And whereas she recently organized a book drive to present over 85 new books and activity kits to the Brawley Public Library for their summer reading enrichment program. Now, therefore, I, Sam Couchman, Mayor of the City of Brawley, by the power vested in me, and on behalf of the Brawley City Council, do hereby proclaim July 9th, 2022, the day of her 85th birthday, as Adeline Bias Day in the City of Brawley for her numerous contributions for the community. Thank you very much. Present you with this proclamation, and I think your family probably wants to take some pictures. And maybe your lunch.
Big smiles, big smiles.
Okay, thank you very much and congratulations.
Luke, maybe you can miss the meeting next time and it can be the Luke Canby show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get your full screen. Big
name. All right. Okay, so now we'll go to item 2F. Introduction of new employee, Thomas Garcia, Assistant to the City Manager, presented by Tyler Saucedo. And I think they'll be doing that shortly here.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Well, today's a very good day for the city manager. It's my pleasure to introduce the assistant to the city manager, Thomas Garcia. His very first day is today with us. Very excited, and after meeting with him today and showing all the work we need to do, hopefully he comes back tomorrow.
Okay.
But with that, a few items before he speaks on a little bio here. His wife and, I was going to say wife and I, but that's the way you wrote it. His wife and Tommy have lived in Imperial Valley for 27 years, raising 3 children. He has a bachelor's degree from NAU, Northern Arizona University, in public administration. 26 years with Imperial County Service. That was his last little duty there. His last rank was chief deputy. He was assigned to various assignments, including administration division, records, civil unit, support services, and a lot more that he didn't put on here. He has an extensive background in emergency preparedness, easy for me to say.
Enunciate, please.
Yeah,
Enunciate.
and leadership development. He served as board of trustee on the Imperial County Employees Retirement System, and Association of County Retirement Systems also was a board of director. With that, Mr. Thomas Garcia.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and esteemed council members and members of the public. I tell you, I'm really excited to be here and very appreciative of this opportunity of being part of Tyler's team and jumping right in wherever and however I can help out. I'm very looking forward to this opportunity, and I will definitely be here tomorrow, many days after that.
Very good.
And with that, if there's any questions or...
Any questions from the council? Any comments? Yeah, would you like to comment?
Just, I would like to welcome you to the city of Brawley. Congratulations on your new role. And no pressure, but can you tell me what it's like to work with Tyler? No pressure. No, really, he is. You can keep him in line too. Yeah. And so, no, we're excited to have you. I think your background, honestly, it's a great fit for the city of Brawley. This position that was created recently, it's kind of all-encompassing, and it takes a very kind of unique skill set. So I think you fit it well. Excited to have you here. And I'll be honest with you. I've heard from various people that knew you had applied and had heard that you'd made sort of the final cut here, and all positive things. People you've worked with in the past,
Yeah,
and
appreciate
all
that.
very positive things. So we're very excited. Congratulations, and we wish you well. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Garcia, good to have you on board. It's been a long time coming, and we certainly want to give Tyler all the help that he needs to continue doing the good job that he's doing. So we're glad to have you on board, and really looking forward to the progress and the positive changes that you'll help to make for the city of Brawley.
Thank you.
I want to give an opportunity to Ramon or to Donnie to comment also if they'd like to.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Ramon Castro. I just want to welcome you on board, sir, and I apologize for not being there tonight in person. Very happy to see that you're here, and I know that Tyler, especially Tyler, is been going in and catching him, working so many hours, and I know he needs the help. I did meet with him last week and got a little bit about your background, so we're very happy to have you here. I look forward to meeting you soon in person.
Thank you.
Mr. Wharton?
And, yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I can't help it, but I will call him Tommy because I happen to know a little bit about his background and his years serving the county. And I couldn't say I'm prouder of you, Tommy, for not only stepping up and applying, but it is exactly, I think, what we as a council, as a leadership team, I think over a year ago now, maybe even a year and a half, 2 years ago, I know our Mayor Pro Tem has been really kind of dreaming about this position for a number of years, but to finally make it a reality, I really think it's going to be a game changer, and we couldn't have a better professional. So, Tommy, welcome aboard. Congratulations to you and your family. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I look forward to working with all you members.
Yes, congratulations, Tommy. We look forward to this. I met you today for the first time, although we are long-term employees of the county, and so we all kind of come together on that here in Imperial County. But we look forward to you joining the Brawley family and helping out the city manager, and we're looking for some great things to happen all this year and in the coming years to come, and we look for some good things to happen in Brawley. We've got a lot of development going on. I'm sure you'll be involved in all of those aspects of it. So just congratulations again, and we look forward to having you here working with us.
Thank you.
It's not just a role, it's a leadership team, brother.
Yeah.
You're part of it. I mean, we're building that. We have for a while now, and we have a really solid team of people. You're part of that. I mean, consider that. We are a solid team right now. Let's keep that going, so.
Sure,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
And Tommy, whatever they say about me,
Right.
It's all the truth.
It's all true.
and welcome.
He played tennis at IVC, just in case, so. Right, we believe.
All right, okay. All right. With that, we will go to item number 3, which is our consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion to approve that, and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I, Johnny Wharton, would like to make a motion to approve our consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Anybody from the audience want to pull anything? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, I think we're all ayes, so, okay, approved. Okay, now we'll go to item number 4, which is our city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, before I ask Chief York to come up and provide a little summary of what happened over the weekend as it relates to call-outs for fireworks, I just wanted to announce that per council's request, the ARPA page has been created on the website. Thank you, Carla. And it is there for the public viewing.
Okay.
And with that, Chief, if you...
Good evening, council members, city staff, and public. Mike York, Fire Chief. Just to give you a brief overview on the fire response in relation to the events of the 4th of July, starting technically the evening of the 3rd and going on until early this morning. So the Brawley Fire Department in that 24-hour period, we received 13 calls for fires. 2 of those were for fires outside of our jurisdiction. They were mutual aid requests that we were not able to respond to due to some apparatus issues. Of the remaining 11 calls for fire, 8 of those calls were verified related to fireworks. They were either mortar boxes that were left smoldering, debris in the area, et cetera. One fire was a dumpster fire. It's inconclusive. We suspect that it was fireworks related because we had a grass fire down the alley that was fireworks related, but we know for sure that those 8 fires were directly related to fireworks. Thankfully, we had no injuries in our city. Had a little bit of text exchange with my fellow chiefs throughout the county. We did have one significant injury in El Centro this year, where an adult male was burned on his face and neck by an illegal firework. We did have some significant property damage at one location where a fireworks lit grass on fire that lit a wooden fence on fire and destroyed about a 25-foot section. So thankfully, very minimal. Last night, of course, I had personnel out on patrol responding. I took an opportunity to drive around our city. Just saw a lot of activity. It's hard to gauge whether it's more or less from previous years. It certainly was a lot of activity. What I noticed, and it was mirrored this morning, it was unprompted from my fire captains that were on duty last night, was they made the comment that what we're seeing with our aerial fireworks is they are bursting very low to ground. I don't know if there's an issue, when we're dealing with kind of professional grade fireworks that are being sold by non-professional entities or being used by non-professional entities. There's no guidance given. There's no really regulation about it. And so what you would see with these air bursting style fireworks and professional displays or at events that they go to a very, a certain height and they explode. We're seeing these that are being used around our city are exploding at a very low height. We have a lot of houses and buildings in our city that have shake shingle or other flammable roofing materials. And I really feel with our winds last night, even though they weren't super high, and combined with these low level bursts, I feel that we were very lucky that we didn't have any greater significant damage. And I just really want to caution the public that they are serious. You're going to see them, but just because you see them a lot doesn't mean that they're safe or that they're appropriate for use. I don't know about the enforcement side, and I'm sure Chief Duran will have further information once all the reports are done at a future date. But there is one more reminder that the use of the safe and sane fireworks that are sold by our most excellent partners in the valley or in our city, by ordinance, they are allowed to be used until tomorrow at 11 p.m. So after tomorrow at 11 p.m., even the safe and sanes become illegal and subject to the firework ordinance fines.
Okay.
If there's any questions, I'll do my absolute best to answer.
More a statement. I did find last night, early on in the evening, as it got dark, our street was fine. I think there were about 3 or 4 different families setting off safe and sane fireworks. I did notice there seemed to be less of the illegal fireworks going off early in the evening. That picked up after about 10 o'clock. And then we got some, and then over into around the midnight time frame, there were some loud bangs, and I think those were probably all illegals going on at that point in time. I did notice that it seemed like there were less than in previous years, and that was just a personal observation of mine. At times I've driven around and taken a look and seen some things, but you're right, I do think they do burst lower than what they have in previous years, and I don't know whether they've just cut back on the powder charge or what they've done with those types of fireworks, but it did seem like normally you could see them going off pretty high up in the sky. These were pretty low on the horizon, and some were some distance away, but I did notice the same phenomenon.
And I'm getting that kind of feedback from quite a few people within my department as well as the public, and I think that also contributes to the idea that there aren't as many because you're not seeing them from as far away.
Could be that.
Again, there's no way for us to make those determinations on is it lessening or increasing, but yeah, I think as a subjective observation, we're seeing that a lot, that they're bursting much lower to the ground, and it's cause for concern.
Right. And on July 4th, I expect to see that. On the day before, or 3 days before, and a week after, and then all during the year, no, I do not. And so that's one of the concerns. And I have driven around, looking around at different things, but hopefully we can dampen that down some, and we'll see how it goes. Anything else from the public? Any questions for Chief?
Nothing for me, no.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
That's all for my report.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Then we'll go to item number 5, which is our regular business. Item 5A is discussion and potential action to approve requests submitted by Imperial Valley Beverages Incorporated to authorize the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption off the premises in accordance to a Type 21 ABC license, presented by Jimmy Duran, Chief of Police. Chief?
Once again, good evening, members of the council, city staff, and public. Yes, we received a request for an ABC license from Imperial Valley Beverages, Inc., for a location of 899 Main Street. And this is for a Type 21 ABC license. Again, this is for the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirit, and for consumption off premises, of course. What you see on the screen there, it's going to be hard to see, but if you see the red dots, that indicates the amount of ABC licenses that we currently have in our city. I know last time we did a presentation like this, there were some questions of how many we had, which we did answer, but I think this gives you a visual representation of what we have out there. So we do have a total of 37 ABC licenses in our city. Of course, that's a combination of 21 off sale and 16 on sale. And of course, some of them are inactive, but that actually gives you a better representation of what we have out here. And going back to this request, we did review the amount of calls for service in the proposed location, which is 899 Main Street. It did not reveal any issues or items of concern that will lead us to discourage or support or indicate a reason not to approve this request. But again, this is submitted to council. We did attach a copy of the ABC 245 that was submitted by Imperial Valley Beverages, as well as a letter of finding of public convenience submitted by Mr. Sacco, who is here present on behalf of Imperial Valley Beverages, Inc., in case you have any questions. And if you have an opportunity to look at the proposed tenant improvement of 899 Main Street, it definitely shows a big difference compared to what it looks like today. But again, with this, I submit to council for approval, and if you have any questions for myself or Mr. Sacco, who's here present, you want to raise your hand, Mr. Sacco? Maybe he can answer them for you.
Okay.
I think there are some missing ones here, though. The meat market sells hard liquor, yeah, and it's on G Street and 6th, and I don't think that's present.
The meat market, I know, I mean, we have to do this manually, so we were trying to do as best we can, so.
But at any rate,
I
mean, I think I get the point, so.
Yeah, thank you for that graphic.
Okay. Any questions from the council, even those zooming in? No questions?
None for me.
Okay. With that, then I'll entertain your wishes from the council. Entertain a motion or a second.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilmember Nava. I will make a motion to approve the item.
Okay, I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, item carries. Okay, we'll go to item number 5B, which is discussion and potential.
Congratulations to our.
Congratulations. Discussion and potential action to review and approve the acceptance of the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force's OCDEFT funds and the acquisition of high-technology equipment to assist with fentanyl investigations and approve associated budget adjustments, presented by Jimmy Duran, Chief of Police.
Yes, good evening once again, City Council, city staff, and public. Jimmy Duran, Chief of Police. As you know, within the last year, we've been working hand in hand with our federal partners and other task forces in order to eliminate street-level narcotics in our city. We've been very successful, but in order to do a better job, we are in need of high-technology equipment that will help us do our job better. And as you know, the illegal use of fentanyl has really increased nationwide. As you've been keeping track of the news, you're seeing that it's affecting all our communities nationwide. And of course, we're not the exception here in our city nor our county. And as you know, fentanyl is one of the leading causes or drugs of that causes overdoses in our nation, in our state, and in our county. Unfortunately, I'm not able to say how many overdoses occur in our city, but I can attest that we are seeing it constantly, and the reason we can't keep track is because we haven't come up with a good system. We don't have an analyst that can do that for us. Have had meetings with our fire chief, and we know we are getting quite a few. Even last week, we had one, and 2 weeks before, we had another one. So we believe that by obtaining this funding through the OCDF initiative, which is the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, we were able to do a better job at catching these individuals who are selling these illegal narcotics in our city. In the description is there of the equipment that we need to purchase for a total of $42,751.14. And again, this will all be money that it will be funded through the OCDF initiative. So again, no cost to the city. It would just help us do our job better and be able to support federal entities and other local entities better when it comes to this type of enforcement.
Any questions for the chief? Any questions from the public or online? Any questions from the council members that are online?
I did have one question.
Yes, sir.
Will any of this equipment help to track the fentanyl overdoses? Or is that just between police and fire?
No, this is just equipment for enforcement. But we are coming up with, again, I did have a meeting with Chief York. And what happens is a lot of these overdoses don't get reported via police or via fire because they get transported via ambulance.
Yeah.
So what we're doing between us, we're trying to see if we can get all those numbers. So in the future, we can give you an accurate report of how it looks like in our city.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Any other questions from council members? It's just, it's more, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, I didn't have a comment. I was just going to make a motion, but if someone had a question.
Oh, the only thing I was going to say is this is just more tools along with the canine
Yes.
support that you just
Exactly.
introduced. And so,
This additional technology that is going to help us combat fentanyl in our area. Again, along with the canine, which is an awesome tool as well.
and I think there's also additional use of cameras and some other
Yes,
things
there is.
embedded in this. So that's
Yes.
probably a positive too.
Of course, yes, because, you know, some of this technology could be used for other purposes as well, other type of crimes that are being committed.
Okay. I think I have a motion from Councilmember Wharton. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Okay, item 5C is discussion and potential action to adopt a resolution adopting regulations for candidates for elective office pertaining to candidate statements submitted to the voters at an election to be held on Tuesday, November the 8th, 2022. And number 2, policy establishing procedures and criteria for indigent status determination as it pertains to candidates during general and special elections, presented by Carla Romero, Finance Director, City Treasurer. Carla?
Thank you, council members, members of the public. I'm going to temporarily put on my elections official hat. I say temporary because now that Thomas is here, he will be taking over this role and assisting further. So we are handing off the baton. We already had a talk this morning, and so next updates will likely be provided by him. But for tonight, what we'll be going over is, first of all, the timeline so that potential candidates are aware of how elections work for the city and the different requirements. And then we have 2 resolutions that we would like you to consider to adopt, and I'll explain what each of those means as well. There we go. So a brief overview of the elections timeline. We do have 2 city council seats up for re-election. The election will be held on November the 8th, 2022. We did today publish a notice in the Imperial Valley Press in English and in Spanish as required, notifying the public that we do have this upcoming election. The nomination period, when the candidates can actually pick up their entire packet and begin to acquire the signatures and and apply for a candidacy are released on July the 18th through August the 12th. We cannot release that nomination paperwork beforehand, even to current incumbents. So we are scheduling meetings with 2-hour increments for the candidates during that July 18th through August 12th. Of course, we encourage candidates, you see the multitude of pages there that need to be filled out, to come early. We encourage potential candidates to make meetings within the first 2 weeks. If they're interested, they can certainly contact the city manager's office or myself. We are still coordinating on those efforts. The nomination period does end on August the 12th. But since our current mayor has indicated that he is not going to run for council, if that is still the case, come August the 12th, there's automatic 5-day extension. So the deadline for Brawley would be August the 17th to turn all the nomination paperwork into the county. Again, we don't you cannot wait to the last minute because we have to validate all of those signatures, which means we have to physically go to the county to do so as city employees. And so that back and forth, and if you're missing a signature, you don't want to be here at 3 p.m. on the deadline because you won't have time to get that additional signature, which means you won't be a qualified candidate and you won't be on the ballot. So we'll be explaining all of this to the candidates when they do come in. August the 18th, the day after the nomination period closes, is the last day to withdraw the candidate statement. I'll be going over the statement and what that means during that resolution. And then during August 18th through the 27th, the County Register of Voters will make available all of the candidate statements as submitted by the candidates before they are published. That brings us to August deadlines here. The Secretary of State actually randomly draws the order in which the names of the candidates are presented on the ballot, and so that is going to be done on August the 18th. I'm sure they will let the Register of Voters know, and they will let us know shortly thereafter. Then from September the 29th through October the 18th, the County Register of Voters will mail an informational guide along with those candidate statements and sample ballots. And then on October the 10th is the last day to register to vote to receive the guide by mail. But the official last day to register to vote is October 24th for the November 8th, 2022 election. And then the ballots themselves will be mailed at about October the 10th. Election day, again, is November the 8th. Last time, I believe we had 12 voting places, so we're confirming those with the county over the summer. And election voting places will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on that day. We also, as a reminder, have a ballot drop-off box in front of City Hall that will also be available as soon as the ballots are mailed out, so about October the 10th. Election results will begin to be available at about 8 p.m. on November the 10th. And then official certified election results should be about December the 8th. Of course, depending on how close the candidacies are, we'll know more or less who the winners are before that October 8th deadline, but the County Register of Voters has until that time frame to certify the elections. Any questions on the timeline? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the first resolution. We have two tonight. And I'm going to read my notes because, again, I'm not an elections expert. But Elections Code 13307 was amended in 2016 with Assembly Bill 2911 and became effective January 1st, 2017. The statement for the candidates may include their name, age, occupancy of the candidate, and a brief description of their qualifications, and be no more than 200 words of the candidate's description of themselves. The statement must be free or exempt from any civil or criminal action or penalty because of any false, slanderous, or libellous statements. So it's both verified. The statement will be both verified by the city and the county prior to publication. However, as the governing board of the city of Brawley, you may authorize to increase this limit to 200 words, to 400 words from the 200 words. However, it must be adopted via resolution. So there is no additional charge for the increased word count. The elections official shall provide the Spanish translation, so the County Register of Voters does the translation for the city as required. There's no additional charge for the translation either, because it's required by state law for our particular county. The candidates cannot translate their own statement. It must be done by the County Register of Voters. The statement may be withdrawn but not changed during the period for filing nomination paperwork. So remember, if you look at the timeline before, they can withdraw it before August the 18th. But after it's submitted, you cannot amend it. And so it's very, very important that every word count. And so the resolution did have the 200 words highlighted because at the pleasure of the council, that can be increased to 400 words. And so that's one of the questions we have for you tonight. If you would like that to be changed, it would not only be for this election, but it would be for all upcoming elections. If the council wanted to, they could revert and adopt a policy amending it back to 200 words in the future.
Okay. What else?
And the fees are on the top right there. So the standard fee is $300 to file the statement. $350 if it's provided in a printed format, because the county would need to type that up and then have it translated. Realizing that there is a fee, the second resolution talks about potential payment plans for that particular fee to not deter anyone from running for elections. The Elections Code 13309, as amended by Assembly Bill 1417 in 2013 and effective January 1st, 2014, allows for cities to have a resolution in this nature, but the Elections Code doesn't provide guidance as to how to do this. And so we reached out to other agencies and found that the recommended action is to reference the HUD low-income rates in order to be able to qualify potential candidates to have this fee paid over increments as negotiated or with the actual candidate. This would be the 2022 limits as provided in the attachment 5 to the staff report. And so it just allows us to have a process in place so that those that are not able to pay the fee up front can pay it over time, but still run for candidacy. And there is one more thing that I was reminded of today or told today by our elections consultant, is the city also does not have a resolution as to what happens if there's a tie. If there's ever a tie with any of our elected officials. So by default, what happens is that there is a canvass and a recount of the ballots that were submitted. And then the elections board of the Secretary of the State determines who wins the tie vote. Or the city can adopt a resolution to have a runoff election on a Tuesday. That election is at full cost of the city. And so as we learned from our special election in November, it can be quite costly, upwards of like $90,000 to have a special runoff election. And the election has very precise parameters. It cannot be less than 40 days nor more than 125 days after the election results are certified. So you have some sample dates there, kind of using this election's timeline. And so one of the other questions tonight is, would you like the city to prepare a resolution to potentially have a runoff race, or should we continue to default to the state elections code?
Okay.
That concludes my presentation. I did want to let council know that we are also working on a website page for the 2022 elections. It will include a timeline, these deadlines, processes, city contacts for potential candidates, and an update of candidates during and after the elections. And we are anticipating to have this page up by the July 18th deadline to begin submitting paperwork.
Will it include an image of a question mark in the formed with coffee cups?
I will try.
Cups like coffee cups?
That's all the coffee we need to do all the work.
That's questionable.
Yes. Any comments or questions from the council members? Okay. The only thing my personal observation of this is I don't like increasing it to 400 words. I don't think people want to read 400 words about each individual candidate. If they do want to meet with a candidate, that's one thing. But I think the 200 words makes it a little bit better for printing and for getting that message out, whatever that message may be. And then in the other case, I don't want to have a special election, have to pay for that. Proper authorities and let them handle that. Maybe they flip a coin. I don't know what they do, but whatever they.
Yeah,
You know,
they flip
like,
coins and all
I think that's been the norm, and I would hate to see us, deflect from that. And the reason why I'm commenting is I'm not going to file, I'm not going to run. So if I was running, I probably wouldn't make these comments. But at 200 words, when you start to go 400 words per candidate and say we have 3 people running, that's a lot of words. I mean, that's a lot of paper, and people don't. I don't think people embrace those to read them anyway. I mean, I think likely they are to read it, and I'd rather have a potential voter read that rather than just discard it because it's too lengthy. But that's just my comments on a personal
Sam,
level.
that took more than 400 words for you to say.
Yes, I know. I realize that. And that's the nature of the beast. I mean, and I could certainly do 400 words if you'd like me to. Be nice now. Wait.
The intro.
Wait.
He's working on the body next. Watch.
Be nice.
I don't know where that came from. I apologize.
Yeah, it just come out, didn't it? Yeah,
it's because you're
I'll
lonely
get
in
it
here,
Come here, sit closer right here. Okay.
So I'm hearing
On that
one-
note.
I am in agreement, though. I am in
Okay.
agreement with you. I know from personal experience when I wrote my candidate statement that I really had to shave it down, and that was a good exercise. And
It
I think
was.
it's probably
I think so too.
probably the right thing.
I think so. I agree with you. I think it's right the way it is.
Yeah, and in default, I think the
Right.
default thing is probably something that we really don't want to have a special
Yeah.
election again.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
after all the elections that we've just had, but, okay. So I will entertain a motion, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I'll entertain a motion and a second, unless there's any discussion from the audience or online.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second.
And I have a second. Okay. So I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, those opposed? Okay, motion carries, okay. Thank you, Carla. I'll suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, yes. Okay. Item 5D. Discussion and potential action to approve the amendment of Brawley Municipal Code, Section 17.95-2, regarding the parking of trucks and vehicles with hazardous materials prohibited from parking in residential areas, presented by Andrea Montano, Planning Technician.
Mayor, council members, Andrea Montaño, Planning Technician. So we've had some complaints throughout, some time where we are having truck parking in residential areas, and by trucks, we're talking, semi-trucks in residential areas. So when we're looking at our municipal code, we're finding that their parking, our definition of what a residential area referred to the residential section of our municipal code. So that would be zones RE through mobile home park zones. What it didn't account for was mixed use zones, where you're gonna have both residential and commercial uses there. So the changes that are presented before you today are to incorporate mixed-use zones such as the CP zone and the mixed-use areas like our downtown specific plan and some of our specific plans, because the definition was specific to zones and didn't really take into account our specific plans or our CP mixed-use zones.
Okay. And we're going to utilize the federal standard for hazardous materials as a definition, is that?
Correct. I'm actually not changing anything regarding hazardous material vehicles. All that's being added are changing it from refer to the residential section of the municipal code to it saying the RE, RA, R1, R2, and then including the CP zone and our mixed use zone and any further specific plans that we may adopt in the future.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
one of the areas that had prompted this was near the hospital, and when we have, like we've been through the last 2 years where there's limited parking due to an overflow at the hospital, there was a lot of full semis, including 2 trailers,
Right.
parked along both of those corridors right there, so.
Okay.
And there was residential complaints. I've addressed those with Tyler in that area. And the problem, too, is that the roadways are not meant to have, especially in residential areas, they're not meant to have that heavy, truck on there, so that destroys the grade of the street. So I think that's really important to consider.
Well, and plus with the addition of hazardous materials, then you run the risk that it might catch fire. There may
Yeah.
be some other issues related to that and result in evacuation of a neighborhood or even injury or death on
Which
the part of
happens.
some people.
Fires
So-
absolutely happen on trucks. I've seen them here
Right,
locally.
right.
So.
So, yeah. So any other questions from any council members? Okay, any questions from members of the public? No? Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the item.
Okay. Second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was by Councilmember Donnie Ward.
Okay. Go with that. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. So now we will go to item number 6, study sessions. Item 6A is review, discuss, and provide comments on our additional direction to staff regarding the proposed purchasing and contracting policy presented by Carla Romero, Finance Director, City Treasurer.
Hello again.
Yes.
So tonight, council members, we have a very, very important item for you. The purchasing policy was last updated in 2008, and it has taken us months to prepare a draft for you because we really wanted to get internal feedback, external review, and have as much of this encompassing as possible during this presentation. So the goal of the proposed policy is to streamline our purchasing processes, update the purchasing thresholds, provide clearer direction to staff, and incorporate the federal guidelines that are utilized by state and federal grants that the city administers. Again, the process to formulate this was several months. We reviewed samples from other agencies, legal review. I dug for other ordinances, resolutions, policies, that referenced any purchasing items for the city. And if approved, we would actually propose to have a second study session based on comments tonight. And the approval would not be effective until October the 20th, 2022, and I'll explain why as we get into the presentation. And also, the policy does require an annual review so that it's not so many years between updates. So it would require us to have an annual review within the finance department, track any comments made or any purchase kind of issues that we have throughout the year so that we can bring those for your review and approval to then not have those stumbling blocks as we go forward. Oops. I think we skipped one. Can we go back one, Andrea? I'm sorry. Thank you. So the city has several policies surrounding purchases. They're all on the screen here. The 2 in orange are the ones that would be replaced. Again, the current purchasing policy was adopted in 2008 via an ordinance. And then the credit card policy was adopted in 2011 via a staff report, no ordinance, no resolution, and it applies only to council members. However, the city manager and myself currently have a credit card, and we do follow the policy, and the policy is incorporated into this new policy with some additional kind of teeth to it for credit card purchases. The travel and reimbursement policy was last updated in 2009 and likely going to be the next policy that we review and bring forward for you to amend. The ones in blue would all remain. The Uniform Construction Cost Accounting Principles was adopted in 2019 via an ordinance, and that one has to do with Public Works being able to establish a listing of potential vendors to utilize for construction-related projects. The in-house waste reduction and recycling content policy was updated in 2015. It references the in-house reduction, use of recycled materials and components within that policy. And then we have the direct service providers as referenced in the organic waste recycling ordinance, which was adopted this December 2021. Again, that's an ordinance that was required by the state to incorporate within the waste recycling ordinance that we adopted. Then we also have Chapter 9 of the Municipal Code regarding emergencies and special and disasters and how we administer those and how we can procure what is needed during those situations. And then we also have a local bidder preference that I could not find any formal document, but I know the city has been adhering to this local bidder preference. And so what we did was we incorporated it as an exhibit to this particular policy so that it's formalized that we will continue to follow this practice. You can stop me at any time. So let me go over a summary of the proposed changes. Those in green are items we have added to the policy. Definitions were added so that everyone understands what an RFP, an RFQ, and RF anything is. So request for proposals, request for qualifications, request for information, who's the city manager, who's the city council, and those kinds of definitions. The expenditure categories and procurement processes have been expanded to provide additional clarification for staff. And then again, the credit card use was added into this policy, which would replace the current policy. The federal guidelines as provided under the Uniform Guidance, which is this big book right here, are summarized into the policy. There's major components within these federal guidelines that we have to adhere to when it comes to state and federal grants. The state does not have their own guidelines, and so they default to the federal guidelines, which is good for us, or else we would have to have an additional section and potentially conflicting guidelines because some of our projects have state and federal funding. So you always go to the more stringent ones, which are the federal guidelines. And so that is the end of the policy includes those federal guidelines and limits and references that are required by federal law. And then we have added 6 forms to the policy, again, to provide very clear direction to staff when they have to use petty cash or when they have a sole source or a select source, the justification for that. If they don't follow the policy, why? And that would have to be reviewed by the city manager. The credit card authorization and use form. And so these forms all provide very clear guidance for these different procurements that the city has. So let's talk a little bit about the expenditure categories and the thresholds and why this is so important for our staff. We have added some additional expenditure categories as listed there. We have a petty cash, which would be $50 or less. The approval would be by city staff with the review and approval by a manager or a director. The operational expenses would be $50 to $5,000, sorry, $50.01 to $5,000, and that would be at the director's or manager's approval limit. The minor expenditures would be from $5,001 to $15,000, which would require director and manager approval with the city manager approval as well. Right now, the city manager's limit is $15,000, so he would continue to approve all those purchases as well with the director and manager's recommendation. The intermediate purchase category would be $15,000. Sorry, that should be $15,001 to $30,000, and that would be the city manager approval limit. Anything after the $30,001 would require city council approval. The other recommendation that we have with this policy is that we provide City Council a comprehensive quarterly update of all the purchase orders that were issued during that particular quarter. This is oftentimes a records request for us, a public records request, and so we do provide it to external agencies upon request, and something that we could easily provide with our new financial system. The chart on the bottom there is what our current expenditure approval limits are that are clearly noted in the policy, and the proposed limits that are reflect those above. And then as a reference, the City of El Centro's limits as well. And so although it does appear, or we are asking to basically double the city manager's limit and then also the city council approval limit, we do have a neighboring agency that has even higher limits. As a reference, I did reach out to Imperial, but I haven't received a response from them yet. So why increase the limit, and why is this so important for us, the staff? Again, it hasn't been updated since 2008, and everything costs a little bit more now. We want to reduce staff time in processing payments, increase productivity, and streamline the process. So when I first started, I kept hearing $1,000, and it's a lot of work to issue purchase orders for everything under $1,000, which over $1,000, which is what's happening. So think of computers, any type of chemicals that are ordered for the pool, any repair, ordering of these TVs here for the council chambers, all of that requires a purchase order. So I went back and I did an analysis of all the purchase orders issued in fiscal year 21-22, which just ended. We had a total of 255 purchase orders, and 53% of those were under $5,000. So we are proposing to eliminate that and increase it to $5,000 and over to require a purchase order, and everything else would be paid routinely through an invoice. One of the things that the new system can also monitor is if departments are piecemealing invoices. Let's say you do, well, give me one for $4,500, and another one for $3,500. And so we're able to run reports and look at vendor history and then communicate with the department that you can't be circumventing the policy, but rather you need to kind of get a slap on the hand and fix the issue and go through the proper process. 35% of them are between $5,000 and $15,000. So that's the 89 number there in the orange pie chart. 5% are between $15,000 and $30,000, and then 7% were over $30,000. So again, all of the purchase orders, regardless of the value, would be provided to you in a report according to the new policy if it's adopted. But just kind of wanted to show you the amount of work that would go away. What happens is our purchase orders are electronic, and so the department needs to put in the request electronically, attach all of the documents. It gets reviewed by the staff that's inputting it. It gets reviewed by the director or the manager. It gets reviewed by myself. And then oftentimes it gets reviewed by the city manager. And so that's a lot of reviewing for a purchase under $5,000. Any questions so far?
Any questions? No.
One thing to point out, also just a reminder that this is all within the framework of the adopted budget by council, and they can't exceed any of those limits.
We know that.
So,
One of the other areas that was not added initially, but that we would like you to consider, because this has been an impediment to our Public Works Department, is for specifically for water, wastewater, and solid waste infrastructure repairs and maintenance. The City of El Centro has a different threshold limit for these particular purchases. It's quite high. They don't require City Council approval until it hits over $200,000. One of the reasons is because a lot of this infrastructure is very large, requires special orders, custom manufacturing. Once you get in there, you realize what's really wrong, and it ends up being a little bit more than you originally anticipated or could visually see. It also requires oftentimes a sole source of equipment, specialized equipment or services in order to perform that repair. And we're talking about water, wastewater, things that are could jeopardize life and critical services to the community. And so sometimes you don't have weeks or months to issue an RFP and then get quotes and then have someone come back, give you a design, and then upgrade it. And so I know that our Public Works Department has often had trouble following the current procurement policy because the limit is the same for this particular expenditure in comparison to all the other expenditures of the city. So this is also a question for you. If you would like us to, sorry, I'm cold. If you would like us to add this particular component into the current purchasing policy, we may do so at a threshold that you feel comfortable with. Doesn't have to be the $200,000. That was just a reference and something we found in a neighboring city's policy.
Do you have a recommendation, like from Water and Wastewater or Public Works? What's a convenient number?
I think 100,000 would probably be sufficient to start with. I've heard some of the expenditures are current 60, 70, 75. anything above that might be, just because our 50,000 is a recommendation for regular expenditures, so maybe 100,000 for this particular line item.
Yeah, hi, Carla, this is Councilmember Ramon Castro. You know what, I would support that, to see the needs and obviously streamline some of the process. You know, I would support a number like $100,000, perhaps even $200,000, up to council, but, you know, I'd be in favor for it.
And one of the things, just kind of going back to the process and the policy, is if we monitor this on an ongoing basis, if 100,000 or it's too little or 200,000 is too much, that can easily be amended. So what is the process to update this policy? Currently, this policy is adopted via an ordinance, which means those thresholds are codified in our municipal code. So tonight, we are having an initial review of the policy. We are proposing to have a second review incorporating any amendments from tonight or any thoughts from tonight at the next council meeting. And then based on those two study sessions, we would provide you an updated ordinance reflecting this policy with the limits within this policy, not just referencing this policy instead of having the limits in the ordinance. We'd present that for first reading on August the 2nd. We are going dark, the second meeting in August and the first meeting in September, which would mean a second reading would be September the 20th, and the effective date would be 30 days thereafter, which brings us to that October 20th effective date. At the same time, on August the 2nd, we would provide you a resolution with the policy attached referencing that effective date of October the 20th. But in the future, any amendments would be done via resolution and would be effective that same night. So again, trying to streamline the process so that going forward, staff does not have such a cumbersome process updating the policy, so it's easy to do.
And Carla, question, this has also been reviewed by our external auditors for any?
Our city attorney has reviewed the policy and provided comments and edits, and then, yes, it is also being reviewed by our external auditors. Yes.
They haven't commented yet, though.
Not yet. So we're giving them, that's why I'd like to have that second review to incorporate any of their thoughts into this policy as well. However, I did update the one in La Quinta like 4 years ago, and did have it reviewed by auditors and incorporated a lot of their audit comments within this policy already.
I just hope that we can get to it sooner than later. I think any department head should be able to manage their budget, accordingly. And I know that there's constraints when there's limits on what they need to go beyond. I think it's $1,000 right now, so it makes it cumbersome and things of that nature. So I just hope we can move past that quickly. It just hinders the process, especially today. I mean, you fill up a tank of gas, and how much is that already? You know what I mean? It's like everything's way more expensive. So wigs are costing a fortune right now. You know what I mean?
So I guess I'd like some confirmation on the limits as presented to make sure that our proposed limits are okay, applicable by the city council.
What does the city council feel about that, the council members? Those limits look okay?
Yeah, Councilmember, Mayor, Councilmember Castro, and the limits actually look pretty good, so I'm on board with the recommendations.
Is there any reason for the directors to limit them at $5,000 as opposed to something higher?
No reason. It's just, initially when I proposed the limits, I didn't want it to go from 1,000 or from obviously nothing that's referenced in the policy to, let's say, 15. But at the pleasure of the council, that can certainly be increased as well.
I think if we don't think ahead, we're going to be in the same position in a few years. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I would maybe work at increasing that level.
Operational, you mean?
Where it says the directors.
Managers is 50 to 5,000?
No.
No?
Down below where it says Brawley proposed, the purchase
So
order
the city,
required.
the city manager would be required between the 5 and 15, but the directors could propose it to the city manager.
Right.
And so that kind of gives us that cushion where Tyler is still overseeing everything between the 5 to 15. If it becomes too cumbersome, then we can take a look at that again. But when I looked at the numbers, that was about 90 items. And so 90 is a little bit more manageable than the 135 that we're trying to eliminate for the under 5,000.
I just feel like if we, again, as time passes, and 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years happen quickly, and so then we just put ourselves back in the position. I would just still be in favor of increasing that even further.
Okay.
If we're hiring directors, I expect them to know what they're doing, and so they should be responsible for the money that they manage. They know their budgets, they know what they're doing. And I have Tyler over here fidgeting, but I just think that people, but I think people, quite honestly, they need to be responsible for the work that they're performing, so.
What do you recommend that we go to?
I, at the very least, I would say at least 10 grand or 15, So think about it, things do happen within departments that are required, so. And we already have approved their budget, so it's not like they're not managing.
Yeah.
What do you think, City Manager?
Again, Carl and I had the same perspective on, we didn't want to go from 0 to 100 and council say, what the heck's going on? The one thing I would point out, we can still ease, it is required, and if the policy is adopted as is, an annual review to come back to you guys, which would only take a resolution as opposed to going through. So to see how it works and doesn't work, but yeah, I understand Mayor Pro Tem's Nava's point.
Okay. What about?
I think I'd be in favor of it being 10,000 for the directors, and could be revisited, at the next review or
Sure.
next year when it comes back.
Maybe that's a good number to start with and then to see.
I would support the 10,000 if you'd like to move to that, and then we'll review it in a year, or you guys will review it in a year and see how it looks or how you think it should go. What about Councilmember Wharton?
I think I'm in concurrence with all the discussion and
Okay.
as well as the presentation, so, yep. If,
Okay.
there's an amendment to bump up the director level, I'm in
Okay.
support of that as well.
Okay, Councilmember Castro, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I support that. I mean, look how quickly we go through just our personal budgets. I mean, I can imagine what it's like in the departments, and so, yeah, absolutely, I agree with everything Mayor Pro Tem now said. We do expect them to be accountable and responsible for those budgets, so, I mean, just, getting rid of some of that red tape is just, bettering the process in my opinion.
So that's the one change.
Okay,
I think. There's
perfect.
one
We'll make
change
that
there.
change, and we'll bring that change redlined back to you at the next council meeting. The other question was whether we wanted to add the special limits for our utility system procurements and what that threshold should be. Should it be 100,000, 200,000, added, not added?
What's the council member's pleasure on that one?
What is it currently?
We currently do not have a limit. It defaults to the regular limit.
So after, above
Which
above
is-
15 or 30, or what is it?
Anything above, go back.
'cause
Right now, anything above 15,000 would come to council.
It comes to council, we have to approve.
Because those are
for
monster prices that we're seeing.
UV lights or
Yeah.
whatever, all that
Right.
stuff, yeah.
So I support I would support the 100,000,
I
but I
would
don't
too.
think I would support the 200,000 for a budget of our size. El Centro is quite a bit larger, probably
Yeah.
double our size, and so I think 100,000 would be workable, and then review it in a year.
Would that work, though? I mean, are there things that are in that price point? I know there are, I've seen them obviously here, but if it doesn't resolve the issue, right?
Right, yeah.
And
If it's not enough
if
to-
it's not enough to resolve the problem, then
If
we're
it's
just
gonna
creating.
knock off 50%
Right.
of the items that come before us.
I was waiting for this moment.
Oh,
Just, Guillermo Sillas, Power Board Director. Just to give you an example of the infrastructure that we are having problems at the water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant. When you know that we have a very large equipment there, and when we have a problem with one of the pumps, either raw water pumps or distribution, we have been having problems trying to get repaired or rehabilitated, and the least that we face is probably like 4 years ago, $65,000. And to be able to repair those quick, we have to come to the city council and declare an emergency. Sometimes it is an emergency, and sometimes it's a potential emergency that we don't want to take the risk that if we are operating with 3 pumps instead of 4, let's say, if we have another failure, so now we will be in an emergency, and we don't want to risk citizens to be without water. So that's the reason to propose with the city manager and finance director to increase those limits just on those very critical infrastructure to be able to act very quick. So I would say that the $100,000 will cover most of the heavy equipment and that we have at the wastewater plants and distribution network.
Okay, great. That answers the
that
question.
answers
then.
our
So does
question.
that then just kicks those over to the consent agenda? They're just itemized then in the paid bills?
It depends on the council and how they would like me to read. It would always be on the demand register. It would always require a purchase
Right.
order, of course, and be on the, that new purchase order report that we would be providing. It wouldn't necessarily require council approval unless it goes
Right.
over that amount.
Unless it's over that amount. So at that point, if we set that $100,000 limit, it's just business as usual.
Right.
Right, so they wouldn't report it, and it wouldn't require our consent, right? So we're consenting now. In other words, if we agree to that dollar figure, we still are provided an update of things that happen, of course, but it's just not, it wouldn't be required that we have to approve the item
We
for
don't
them to
have
be
to
able to
act
do it.
on it.
Yeah.
Right.
They should, I think we need a report, I just don't think we need to act to
Right.
approve. I think once it's done, we should get a report that says, we spent $100,000
Right,
on
yeah,
this
like
item.
on the consent agenda, you see the bills that have been
Yeah,
paid.
something like
It'll
that. I
just be
mean,
added
as long
to
as
that.
we have a knowledge of what's going on. I think as far as approval, no, don't wait, just do the repair. I mean, I think in some cases we do that.
Yeah.
I think we have done that. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
on
an
city- on
emergency
certain
after the fact.
emergency type
Yeah.
situations.
Council members, Hamby's comment, everything that's written on a checkout is given to you guys every
Yeah.
month.
Exactly,
every agenda.
exactly.
So,
So we would want that to continue.
Yeah.
And maybe point out the $100,000 expenditures versus the 5,000. We probably don't need to know every 5,000, but we certainly probably have a need to know when $100,000 is being expended out of the budget. I mean, I think that's pretty much the norm.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay. So I think we're
So I'm
in
hearing
agreement.
$100,000 and incorporate a new section into the policy.
I think
Okay.
that'll be fine.
I can bring that at the next meeting.
And then,
And
What was the other one?
That's it.
that was it?
That was it, unless there's any other sections that you wanted to go over in more detail or had conflicts or concerns with. I'm happy to try to answer those questions as well.
Okay.
If you have any between the two council meetings, please let me know. I know the policy is pretty detailed, and I'm happy to try to incorporate any of those additional comments or questions for the next update.
Okay, and we don't need any action on this other than direction?
provided.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
So this is okay. All right. Okay,
I hope
thanks,
the
thank you.
directors, Mr. Mayor, I hope the directors are happy with that as well. moving
Well, I
forward.
hope, yeah, it looked like,
And
well,
see, there's
certainly,
thumbs
they
up
look
back there,
like they're
thumbs up.
very. they're
Everybody,
very-
see, thumbs
Looks like
up.
they're very happy, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Always, that's always good. 6B, review, discuss, and provide comments on our additional direction to staff regarding the proposed formation of Art Installation Advisory Board, presented by Andrea Montano, Planning Technician. Andrea?
Again, Mayor, council members, Andrea Montaño, planning technician. So when we first had the Brawley mural that came, but it came before you guys, at first we had the question of, okay, how are we actually going to approve this? So at the end, we just brought it to council. So what we needed was some type of an advisory board to get feedback also from the community. In looking for that, I was trying to see what different different cities throughout the state and outside of the state did. So a lot of them, they have some type of an advisory board that some of them, they approve the art, some of them, they defer it to their governing body, which would be you guys. So what I am proposing is an art advisory board where it will be made up of 3 city staff members, which would be myself, the parks manager or their designee, and also the police chief and their designee, and various members of the public, including the chamber, the chamber CEO or their designee, a member of their board. I think that we would also maybe include NOCA, include a student from the high school that is appointed by the high school, and an art professional to give us their, advice, because we're not art experts, and also a community member. That's what I'm proposing. Obviously,
Wouldn't the Parks and Rec manager maybe be helpful in that sense too, since some of the art may be on public ground?
right, so the 3 staff members that I'm proposing would be myself, Parks and Rec, and also the police chief, because he
Right,
could
okay.
also
Very well.
give us the opinion on the graffiti abatement side.
Okay.
So those were the 3 staff members, and I haven't approached any of these different organizations to see if that's something that they would want to be involved with. I wanted to at least defer it to you guys and see, is this the route we're even wanting to go? Are you guys proposing maybe different people to be involved with this? But it would work as a board. We would all review art on a needed basis. I just put the first Thursday at 6 just to have somewhat of a date, but it would be as needed. We would review whatever art is proposed to us, and then we would bring you a recommendation. So the board wouldn't actually approve anything. What you guys see on the screens, those are different art exhibits that have been installed in different parts of the top 3 on the left-hand side. Those are in Eugene, Oregon. The bottom ones, those are in Palm Springs and the downtown area that they have from their electrical boxes painted. They have different sculptures. They have their benches painted. They have the streets painted. They have barricades painted that they just leave up. And then you also have in Mexicali, that's actually La Chinesca. So that is basically Mexicali's Chinatown, and that is an alley of it that is decorated, and people take tours through there.
We actually have this happen in Brawley pretty often, but I didn't realize it was art. They have fire
Right.
hydrants.
So, and that's also
You know,
why I
it's,
was proposing the 9 different people, because art can be
Right.
very subjective, because something I like, you may not
Yes.
like, just so we had a broad variety of input to actually bring something to you guys, so it's not one-sided.
And it's advisory only.
Advisory only.
Which is a good thing, yeah.
It is. It's just, Mr. Mayor, I would just say that the more opinions you ask for, the
Right.
more opinions you get. And
Exactly.
it's very subjective, so it's like,
And
you
then
know.
sometimes political,
Right.
sometimes otherwise,
Right.
sometimes
So-
cultural, sometimes all.
Maybe
Right.
we can put some, yeah, exactly, right? I mean, then you start,
It can run the gamut. We have
Right.
to be very careful. I thought the Brawley mural was pretty nice, and I thought
Right.
it went pretty well. And they don't all go that way, but
Right, and one of the other things that I'm proposing the advisory board to do, so as far as planning, I would probably maybe take more of the lead, and I would have a log of the different art, and we would periodically review it to see, okay, is it still at an appropriate standard? And also, if it's something that maybe we do some type of a sculpture that 10, 15 years down the line, maybe it's not the best sculpture to incorporate into the town, maybe, opinions change, they would review it. If we're needing to remove some of the artwork, the advisory board would bring the recommendation up to you guys.
yeah, I think that's probably a good idea to look at things, because I don't want them taken out of my statue, but, if they want to, I mean,
Right.
that's okay, probably. The minute I get a statue, but
Right.
wait until that happens, I guess.
So I don't
I
know
would
if.
propose that.
Yeah,
It's a political figure.
Pull
Right.
the statue down.
Governor
Thanks.
Couchman?
Governor Couchman.
yeah, Governor Couchman.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
it.
On a horse, though.
You want to be on a horse?
We can add them to the horse that we have right
There
here.
we
on-
go, right there, see?
That's actually,
They're already thinking, it is.
less
Right?
expensive, there you go. Thank you, guys, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
No, we just
Thanks,
make them,
Chief.
we just make them sit up there for extended periods of time.
Right, and take pictures.
In real
We'll be up
life.
there in real life, yeah, thanks. Oh, you guys.
So,
Okay.
I don't know what you guys think of this direction, if you guys want to go in a completely different direction, or,
Well, I don't see any reason why we couldn't attempt to form this and see how it goes. I mean, and then I think we take a look at it, see what you get in terms of input from people as to who, maybe having somebody from the school and maybe having a student may be good, but maybe it'll have to be somebody maybe from the school instead. And maybe
Right.
we can't, students they graduate, they move on, and they would have to keep kind of rotating back and forth. But look at that, and then maybe some of the members, some of the advisory members may not want to serve, or they may not want to be on it. I think most of them would be willing to do that, though, based upon what I see from your list.
Right, and I mean, it doesn't have to be a high school student. I just thought it would be important because the students, they could bring a different perspective, and also they're really going to grow up with the art that's getting put in.
Well, some of the students are the artists. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the
Right.
students, or maybe several of the students may be doing the artwork, and
Right.
that could be critical. Also, we might depend upon the students for some of the labor. If we're going to go around painting things, we may have to get some volunteers, and a lot of the students would probably volunteer for that type of work. So it's just something to keep in mind.
But yeah, I definitely think NOCA should
NOCA, yes.
Right.
be
I
approached
do
at
believe
least.
that.
Right, and I know at least my idea with the art professional, that could be either someone who teaches art in the community, maybe an art professor that teaches at either of the schools, even IBC. If it doesn't, maybe it's not a professional that's, I don't know, specific to only teaching in Brawley, but just so we can have somewhat of an art professional that could give us advice, because we may think there's this big statue or this big painting's a grand idea, but they may be able to bring the perspective of, okay, maybe it'll need to maybe get toned down, or we need to incorporate this or this other art concept into it.
Okay.
So Mayor, we are looking, just like the previous study session, any feedback we can bring back for an official adoption of the committee or advisory board with a resolution to
Okay.
memorialize everything, with any feedback that we get today.
Okay. Any other council member comments from those online?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is Councilman Castro. Just say that's a great idea, Andrew. Last year when I visited the city of El Paso, Texas, I remember thinking that, like, it's everywhere. It's highlighted everywhere. The art is beautiful. It talks about their culture and their history. So yeah, I would love to see it here. No comments other than to offer any type of support on a personal level. So if you ever need, help with, anything, just let me know.
Okay.
City of El Centro did receive grant funding, but it's just for their own utility boxes. It's not like IID utilities and
No,
that sort of
no.
thing. So, it's one approach. They're wrapped, they're not painted.
Oh,
Some
okay.
cities,
Some cities
cities
wrap
paint
them,
them,
cities
some paint them.
Right.
Mhm.
So
And I
if
think-
you
And that
look,
would be for
yeah.
city-owned utilities,
right.
You have to get approval.
If
from
you
the-
look at the picture, the purple one with the flowers and the green one up there next to the bench, those are actually two utility boxes.
Right.
So you can kind of mask them and turn them into something else, so you're not seeing this big
like a wrap.
green box in the middle of your eyesight.
That looks more like a wrap, that looks more like a painting, but they have different things. Yeah, they have different types of painting.
Right.
So, Councilmember Wharton? Is he still there?
I'm all good.
Okay, you're okay?
Yeah.
All right, oh, then you have your direction, I
work.
think.
Yep, so
Okay,
far.
all right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, departmental reports. Update on utility billing payment options, assistance programs, and upgraded customer service options presented by Sylvia Luna, Finance Manager. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Sylvia Luna, Finance Manager. I'm very excited to be here tonight to share the progress made over the last year on the implementation of our utility billing model. As you may recall, a year ago I was here presenting on the results of the implementation of our new financial software. And well, tonight it's a follow-up of those continuously implemented efforts that this time not were only implemented by finance staff, but involved the participation and effort of other departments throughout the city. Oops. What you're seeing right now on your screen are elements that are part of our utility billing process, elements that are either new or were modernized as part of the implementation. Many of these things were very obvious and very notorious when they were implemented. For example, our new bill form, as you may notice, it changed and has more elements. and it has more information to help our customers as well as staff on the collection and the payment process. Something that it's new, it's very exciting, it's billing. I will be talking a little bit more about it on my next slide. E-billing, totally paperless. Now our customers are able to receive their billing in a PDF format on their email. And they're also able to get email and text notifications. And something I would like to highlight in here is that those email and text notifications do not only serve to notify about balances or the status of your invoice, but they can also help to communicate in case any messages in case of emergency. Again, both e-billing and email and text notifications need to be set up by the customer. They're not standard. So if you would like to receive those notifications, you just need to let us know, either by providing your cell phone number or your email, and you should be receiving those messages. Other interesting upgrading here, it's payments decentralization, and this relates to the implementation of our cash-sharing models. So not only the finance department has a cash-sharing model now, other departments such as Public Works, Parks and Recs, Library, Building Department had the ability to process those payments at their office without the necessity of finance reprocessing those payments to capture the revenue collected on our books. Also, we have more payment options. Some of them were just upgraded, they were automated, they're more user-friendly. And finally, a very exciting one, the implementation of electronic service orders. And the Public Works Department, in conjunction with the Finance Department, implemented this model. So basically now any water service orders that it's used for meter inspections, connections, disconnections, and meter inspections are done all electronically. The Finance Department issues a notification, Public Works receives the notification through the system. With the use of 2 iPads, they're able to complete the order in no time. So we reduce a significant amount of time, paper, phone calls, and emails to get this completed and provide better customer service. I'm showing there on my screen some gadgets, some of the iPads, barcode scanners. That's all new technology that it's helping us simplify the processes. Oops. A little bit about our new bill form and e-billing. This is the new look of our form. I just would like to highlight some of the elements in here that are very useful. One of them is the barcode. So you're asking, why do we have a barcode on our bill? We still serve on our window at our office an approximate number of 1,000 customers per month, which is like 66 customers per business day. We have a barcode available to staff to scan the bill. We can reduce to 2 minutes to 3 minutes per customer if customers bring their bill. So I'm sure our residents, our customers will appreciate that during the summer months, at least August, July, and September, to reduce the wait time on the line. So we're always asking for the bill for that reason. And it's conveniently designed in there on our bill to reduce the wait time on the line. We also have a QR code. This became very popular during the pandemic. So if you receive your paper bill and you place your phone just in front of the QR code, you're automatically redirected to our payment website. So you can just go ahead and pay on your phone. These are, I think, are the 2 main elements that are more interesting about our new bill. Of course, now we have more information. We have a usage graph, and we have customized messages in there to provide to our residents. Sometimes it's about the holidays, sometimes it's about cleanup efforts, et cetera, et cetera. E-billing, just want to mention and advertise this to our residents. E-billing, it's for everybody. Everyone that has an email can set up their account to be paperless. They can either go either way, both paper and electronic version. Expanded payment options. So we have a total of 7 different payment options. Many of these were already available prior to the implementation, but most of them got upgraded and enhanced. Most of them are 24/7. Our website, which I'm going to talk a little bit more on my next line, the automatic ACH and bill pay are one-time type of setup type of payments. So you just set up this either at our finance office or with your bank, and you should not worry about your bill anymore. Just making sure you have money in the bank to pay. Our most conventional payment methods are by mail, our Dropbox, and in person. One of these payments was highly requested by our customers. It's now implemented, which is the pay by phone option. Now it's available in English and Spanish, so I'm very sure a lot of our customers are very happy to have that option now. Our website. So our website, it's again 24/7. There's many other things that I would like to highlight in here that has a lot of useful tools. It's not just for paying your bill. Any citizen owning a water account can register their account, have their email in there, they can pay their bill, look at the usage consumption graph, either by gallons or by dollar amount. And something I found very useful is the transaction history. You can see when you did your payments, the bill amount, you can even look up for the bill in there. And of course, there's many, many benefits of paying online, right? You're saving time, postage, and you have real data, live data. That's what we're seeing on our system. And I'm gonna change a little bit the topic. Once we have done, besides spending the last year implementing systems and tools and all these upgrades, we also did a lot of work on trying to bring programs to help our residents. So during the past year, the Utility Billing Department / Finance Department implemented 2 programs to help with water, wastewater, and trash services. Between the first 2 programs, we have helped 164 residents or families. These programs just closed in spring of 2022. Our Community Development Block Grant Senior Assistance Program 62 Plus was very popular. And not only help with the city's utility bill, but as well with electricity, gas, and internet services. So we help coordinate those applications and send over payments to the other utility companies to make sure our seniors got the assistance that they needed. They got help for up to 3 months, even if they were not past due. So a lot of happy citizens in there. Our third program in there, the Hardship Utility Payment Plan. This one is still open. We started receiving applications and setting up customers on September of 2020, and that's still open. That's to help with water, wastewater, and trash services. This is a no-interest payment plan, and they get up to 12 months to pay their bill, and for sure, it helps them for any future possible disconnections. And lastly, would like to advertise our latest grant, our latest program. We're partnering with Campesinos Unidos on this low-income household water assistance program, LIWAP. Campesinos Unidos received funding on $643,000. This program has been deployed by the California Department of Development and Community Services. And well, basically this program, it's gonna provide assistance for water and wastewater only. It opened up applications in June of 2022. It just opened it up 2 weeks ago. And they're gonna provide assistance up to $2,000 per household. This is something I would like to highlight in here. This is only for residential accounts, so no business will be assisted at this time. The eligibility requirements are minimum, just meet the income limits established by the program and must have past due balances. Something that is very novel about this program, it does not have a time restriction as prior programs. Before, it would just refer only to the pandemic periods from March of 2020 till March of 2021. This one even goes pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So we still have 30% of our residential accounts, it's still on a delinquent status, so we're trying to redirect as much as possible those residents to campesinos to get helped. And finally, lastly but not least, I would like to take a moment to say thank you and congratulate city staff for a job well done. All these upgrades and all these implementations and changes are product of the city staff ability to train, design, configure, test, and train other people. So from our utility department, Marisela Webster, Carmen Spino, Viviana Perez. From building, implementing the cashiering model, Silvia Lua, Andrea Montaño. Public Works implemented both cashiering and mobile service orders, Juan Antunes, Ricardo Rosales, Jonathan Gutierrez, and Veronica Ortiz. Our IT wizard, Armando Garibay. Parks and Recreation, Linda Self and Rachel Fonseca. And from our police department, implementing the cashiering models, Rudy Nunez, Carla Razo, Veronica Vargas, Marta Garcia, and Darlene Garcia. So thank you so much for all your work and all your efforts to bring better customer service.
Okay.
And with this, I conclude my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from city council members? Any questions from those online?
You said, just in passing, what the percentage of delinquent accounts are. Can you say that again?
Yes, residential accounts delinquent status is 30. We have 30%, so that's about 432 accounts that total $290,000. So we can potentially use a lot of help with the Campesinos LIWAP grant.
Yeah, very nice. Any questions from council members online? No? No?
Very thorough presentation. Thank you, Councilmember Tony. Just on a related note, I'm not going to belabor it here. Maybe just an item I'll bring back to staff or maybe the city manager later. But just on a related note with the pandemic, obviously, in delayed billing, it's my understanding that landlords, especially of rental properties, do not necessarily get a notice. And I'm just wondering with this technology, just seeing some of this here, if there's a way we can include landlords as well with overdue utility bills. And I think the big reason is you may have cases where a bill goes unpaid for many, many months, and as a result of eventual either departure or eviction, a landlord could get stuck with a pretty sizable city utility bill. So just the question is there a way to kind of use this technology here a little bit in this upgrade in notifying our landlords? And I'll just leave it there.
Yes, of course. So, yes, I think that's something we are starting to do. So we have the capability to have 2 contacts on our records, and we're able to email the statement to both the landlord and the tenant. We are facing that situation. I think many other cities are facing that as well. So it is important to have that communication with the landlord. So yes, there is a capability, and I believe we have started doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Super, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Any other comments? If not, thank you very much for the report. I think we're really modernizing the system. I think that's good, both if things happen with pandemics or whatever. But I do think the modernizing is a great thing. I'm not going to utilize it naturally, but I think it's really neat. Due to age, lack of ability to change, and need to interact directly with city employees, I choose to not use the technology in any way, shape, or form. So I pay in person with a check.
Western Union?
And I walk in person. So just so you all know.
Western Union? Is
Yeah,
it?
they forced me to take my paycheck by internet now. They deposit it directly.
Gold dust. Gold dust.
That was a struggle. It only took them 10 or 12 years to get me to direct deposit my payroll check. But that was quite a remarkable thing also. But thank you for the report. I appreciate the modernizing of the system, and I think that's great. Okay, moving right along.
Thank you.
Item number 8, informational reports. Monthly staffing report for July 2022. I think if you don't have any questions, we'll just move along with that. Unless the Human Resource Director would like to, Human Resource Manager would like to say anything. Do you need to say anything?
No, I don't.
No?
Not this time around.
We're all okay? Thank you very much. And now, item 8B is an update on City of Brawley declaration of local emergency as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Anything new to report? Pretty much heading along just like it has lately. Okay. Okay. So now we'll go to item 9, which is City Council member reports. I think I'll let the ones online report first. Mr. Castro.
Thank you, Mayor Couchman. Yeah, just real quick. First off, I'd like to apologize for not being there today in person. I did come in close contact last night with an individual that's COVID. So I don't know if I have it or not, but I'd better not risk it and get you guys sick as well. So just want to report that I was able to attend. I went up to Sacramento last week. I was able to do a little bit of lobbying on behalf of our community for Senate Bill 125, which is basically the excise tax on the lithium extraction, on the lithium that will be extracted out of the Lithium Valley. It was a great experience, to say the least, to see the process and how we can influence that process one way or the other. Ultimately, we were there for the vote, went until very late at night. I think we left, and the assembly member had just gotten to his office about 11:30 p.m. So it just goes to show you the type of work that's being put in up there, and how long hours that they're putting in day in, day out. But nevertheless, the assembly bill passed. That is great for our community. There is a huge set aside to come back directly to the cities, and specifically, 30% of that set aside will be coming directly to the north end, which includes Brawley, Calfett, Island. When I better go back and look at that, I said Brawley and all this time we've been talking about Island, Calfett, and whatnot. I'm pretty sure we're included in that, but much needed revenue coming to our communities here as soon as we get going, I believe at the end of 2023. And so I'm just very happy to report that I was there for that. And I had one more item, but I'll just, the safety, community safety task force that we discussed about a month ago. I just want to report that I've been picking Councilmember Warren's brain on this issue. With his experience and all the things that he's done, obviously in public service, going way back to 20 years, and his experience in law enforcement, he's taken an active approach in guiding us through this process. It's going to take us a little while, a lot of layers, a lot of how to break it down and how to make it actually something that will function and benefit the community. So with that, that's all I have, just an update on what we've been doing there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wharton.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and hold my comments for the next council meeting. But just with that, definitely echoing what Councilmember Castro just mentioned about the task force discussion. So more to come.
Okay.
To the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Mr. Amby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attended a Parks and Rec Commission meeting, and they discussed the dive-in movie that they were going to have Saturday evening. I wasn't able to attend that, but I think it went well, and people always enjoy that offering that we have through Parks and Rec. I hope everyone had a safe and happy Independence Day celebration. Yeah, it's hard to gauge year to year whether we have more or less activity, but I did get to celebrate with my parents and my family, and we had one safe and sane firework that exploded that wasn't so safe, but so you just never know.
Walk away from it.
And I want
safe but insane?
Yeah,
Yes.
It was unsafe and insane. I want to wish my son Bennett a happy birthday tomorrow. He'll be turning 6 on the 6th of July, and just wanted to. I'm sure that Chief York is going to be relieved to not have open flames in the city council chambers like we did last year. So nothing too out of the ordinary. So, and that's it for my report. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much. Attended the ICTC meeting on behalf of the Brawley City Council. Also attended the grocery outlet grand opening, which is good. Nice new facility. I've actually shopped there a couple times now and enjoyed it. So also attended the Chamber Gala, and so Connie Stokely was recognized as the Branding Iron Award recipient, and that was good. Good stuff. Also do want to thank staff for all the work that you're doing. I know it's challenging work, but we're building a really good team. I've been saying that for weeks and months at a time now, but it's exciting to see it develop, and you all are making a big difference. I mean, all these updates are fantastic because it goes to show not just the city council, but the residents of the city of Brawley on what's being done and what we're working on, because, back a few years, there was just so much criticism only because we weren't telling the story. Because everybody knows we all work really hard, day in, day out here at the city. There's a story to tell every single day. So thank you all very much for the work that you're doing. Keep doing it, and I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I also attended the grocery outlet ribbon cutting. I've been over there shopping several times in the last few weeks. They look good. I mean, and people, I think, enjoy the store, so that's a good thing. I also attended an IID meeting at a request from certain individuals regarding attending that meeting and addressing and our support for taxing of the lithium extraction, the same thing that Mr. Castro was talking about. It was an interesting meeting, and certainly I got up and voiced our support for that, especially for the funds coming to the north end. And so that was where that went, and I think the legislature did approve that. I attended a sale at the Pioneers Museum. There was a sale out there, and I did attend that sale. Saw a lot of locals from our area out there buying certain things. That was a fundraiser for the Pioneers Museum, and that went pretty well. I also did a presentation to Brawley Union High School to a large group of the summer school students, and I talked to them about government and history of Brawley and some of the other things around. And it was a good attentive group, and I think they are a good group of kids. Some of them are freshmen coming in for the first time. Some of them were more upper class people, upper class persons. But I thought overall that went very well. And I think we had 4 or 5 of the instructors that were there also. Did a Rotary kick-out dinner for our president. We do that on an annual basis. We did that the other day. Branding Iron Award, attended that. And I think that was it. So had a lot of busy stuff going on the last week or so. Oh, I did meet with a developer regarding the bypass area and out by the current truck stop. And I believe we're going to see future development there. It may be a few years for that to come about, but I do think we're going to see a lot of activity in that area. And it appeared to me that that's a real plus for the city of Brawley. If San Diego State goes forward with their expansion and that development out there, that could be a real both tax base for the city of Brawley, but also bring in more people stopping in the Brawley area, more people spending their dollars here. And I think that's important, and also economic development and diversification for our region. So I think all of that's very, very important. So, and that's my report. Thank you very much. And we'll go to item number 10, City Attorney Report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. With that, we will go to closed session. So thank everybody for attending, and thank all of you online for attending the meeting. And so with that, we will go to closed session. We'll take a small break.